Anthony Tersall, representing the local chapter of Surfrider. My comment today would be that, and you said that neighborhoods was sort of a placeholder. And so I would say you need something different. And because planning entities are looking at mostly property lines, and it makes sense to go from the parcel level to something bigger, but I would posit that you probably need to regard also that the ocean doesn't really care about property lines or city limits. And I would use as an example, locally, the Marina Sand Plant, which the Coastal Commission was instrumental in getting to terminate. It was causing erosion all the way down into the city of Monterey. And we certainly wouldn't call that a neighborhood from the sand plant to there. And so your planning needs to sort of recognize the scales at which the ocean is operating in addition to the scales at which the jurisdictions are operating. And defining a neighborhood people will tend to think about that in terms of the human side of it, but the geomorphology may be more important. So you could have two neighbors that are right next door to each other that are subject to very different ocean processes. And so thinking about that will probably help, because the way it is now, there will be a tendency for people to want to build seawalls on a neighborhood scale. So that would be the downside of the language, is that instead of fighting individual property owners, you will now be fighting local jurisdictions who are trying to put in neighborhood scale seawalls. Thank you.
Thank you. Mandy Sackett, and then our first three Zoom speakers will be Joy Downing-Riley, followed by Mitch Silverstein, and then Kimberly Williams. Mandy Sackett.
Hello, Mandy Sackett, Senior California Policy Coordinator for the Surfrider Foundation. So nice to be before you in person finally. We agree that visioning and multi-scale adaptation planning are important parts of effectively managing our coastlines. The intention to balance planning, incentivize nature-based solutions, and reduce reliance on hard structures are absolutely necessary. But I'm here to express a major concern. The neighborhood scale approach, as described by the working group, has the potential to dramatically expand coastal armoring across California. What we're seeing on the ground is that local governments are not hearing the commission staff's message about balancing and nature-based solutions. Instead, they're running with the concept of neighborhood scale as a green light for large-scale armoring, often with little regard to mitigation. Pacifica's proposed LCP update, for example, includes large-scale seawalls, but doesn't reflect a robust approach to mitigation or restoration. It kicks the can down the road by requiring a shoreline management plan, and within 10 years that might deal with those questions. And that appears to be supported by staff, so we're really concerned about it. Residents are outraged, asking why one neighborhood gets a seawall and why not theirs? And now they're asking for, can we just armor all neighborhoods? And there are really loud calls for that. If we move forward with this neighborhood scale adaptation framework, we need clear criteria that strictly limits and mitigates any large-scale armoring to exceptional circumstances. Legally, new development, even a street back or two as they're redeveloping behind these seawalls, cannot be allowed to rely on seawalls. Full stop. That's the basis of the Coastal Act. And this approach is not a Coastal Act policy conflict, and conflict resolution is not the appropriate way to justify this. Conflict resolution cannot be used as a sidestep to allow new development to rely on seawalls. And we describe more of that in our letter. I hope if you have a chance to look at it, we greatly appreciate it and hope that can guide your discussion today. But I think if we can really get some more nuance to this discussion, that would be a really big win for the day. Like, what exactly does mitigation look like? And what are your expectations of local governments as they build this into their policies? I think setting those out would be a huge step forward. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Joy. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Hart, Commissioners, and staff. My name is Joy Downing Riley, and I'm a program lead volunteer for Surfrider Ventura County Chapter and an advocate for public coastal access and wildlife, like our beloved sea lions who depend on our natural coastlines. As you know, Ventura County already has the highest rate of coastal armoring in California, and this new proposal with the neighborhood scale adaptation policy threatens to worsen that potential erosion by allowing large-scale seawalls that could wall off even more of our beaches and increase erosion specifically along Highway 1 between Seacliff and Emma Wood beaches and between Port Magoo Rock and Malibu. I'm really concerned about the neighborhood scale adaptation policy and its potential to increase coastal armoring in our county. While that may not be the Coastal Commission staff intention, it certainly seems to be the intention of our local government. While Ventura County has incorporated this concept into their draft LCP update for coastal hazards as a way to allow neighborhood scale seawalls, but it does not propose to remove armoring elsewhere or define what mitigation would look like. In this loophole already, as Coastal Commission staff locally and our county are aware, a homeowner at Faria Beach Colony went ahead and built a seawall at Faria Beach, which is hazardous to anybody on the beach, and you cannot walk around it without going into the tide. Seawalls may protect private property, but they destroy public trust resources like beaches, wildlife habitats, and access to the coast. This goes against the California Coastal Act's mission, as Mandy stated, to protect public access and recreation. Our coastlines need room to adapt to rising seas, and we should focus on nature-based solutions, as I'm sure the commission is well aware.
All right, thank you. Next, Mitch Silverstein, followed by Kimberly Williams, and then Peter Loeb. Mitch Silverstein.
Thank you. Mitch Silverstein, San Diego County Policy Manager for Surfrider Foundation. Our San Diego County chapter has concerns about where this concept of neighborhood-style adaptation invariably might lead. Adaptation is a loaded word. Some preserve our beaches, like dune restoration, living shorelines, and relocation of threatened assets. Surfrider supports those. Other adaptation destroys our beaches, like armoring, which is by far what we see most of from both local governments and private property owners in San Diego County. That's why when I read neighborhood-style adaptation, what I fear is neighborhood-style seawalls. 38% of the Southern California coast is already armored, representing a 500% increase over the last 50 years. And with rising seas, the number of armoring applications is going to go up before it goes down. This paradigm needs to change regardless of whether it's parcel by parcel or at neighborhood scale. Our coast is already armored at a neighborhood scale in several San Diego cities. Mitigation, if any, has been inadequate, and the result has been less beach, less access. I appreciate the Commission's focus on environmental justice, but it must be said the continued armoring of our coast to protect multi-million-dollar homes at the expense of beaches that belong to everyone, including our most vulnerable communities, is likely the most pervasive environmental injustice occurring under the Commission's purview. Let's ensure the result of this working group is streamlining the process for adaptation that preserves our beaches, not the armoring that destroys them. If our vision of the future includes beaches and coastal access, we need less armoring, not more of it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, Kimberly Williams, followed by Peter Loeb, and then Peter McNamee. Kimberly Williams.
Hi. Thank you, Chair Hart and Commissioners. I'm Kimberly Williams, representing the San Mateo County chapter of Surfrider Foundation. Our chapter is very concerned about the Special Shoreline Resiliency Areas policy proposed in Pacifica's draft LCP update, which favors neighborhood-scale seawalls at Rockaway and Sharp Park without defining meaningful mitigation or long-term solutions. Ms. Sackett's comments earlier are accurate. I've attended almost all the meetings Pacifica has held on their LCLUP development, and the city has consistently ignored robust public feedback opposing the Special Shoreline Resiliency Areas. SSRAs are controversial in the Pacifica community, with neighborhoods outside of the proposed areas feeling left out, unprotected, and opposed to these plans as inequitable. Pacifica's residents, who may not always agree on the details, have lately been in agreement that they don't support the SSRA carve-outs. The mitigation proposed is vague and inadequate, simply calling for a shoreline management plan without specifying how public access, natural resources, or beaches will be protected for the public. We know seawalls aren't the answer. While they may protect some homes in the short term, they increase erosion and threaten the beaches we all depend on for recreation, access, and natural beauty. Choosing between those people who are privileged enough to own a beachside home, the realtors and developers who benefit, and members of the public who can only enjoy our beaches as visitors can be a hard choice for cash-strapped cities like Pacifica. I ask the Coastal Commission to reject this approach until a clearer, more balanced policy focused on nature-based solutions and real mitigation measures is developed. We need policies that protect the entire coastline for everyone to enjoy, not just select neighborhoods. Please stay the course on meaningful LCP requirements that uphold the Coastal Act. Thank you.